Hi everyone, let's have a look at my low time frame and medium time frame bullish and bearish Elliott Wave scenarios on Bitcoin. Starting with the low time frame bullish scenario, where we are looking at a finished ABC structure to the downside, where the most common target area for wave C has been hit, which is between the 1 and the 1.236 trend-based fib extension taken from the high to the low of A to the high of wave B. It was also below the double bottom for then a liquidity grab, and in this scenario you expect now a continuation back to the upper side of the range, where in a bit more detail I will go over the medium time frame scenario in a second of what might happen next. But before we get there, I quickly want to go to the wave B, because the last update was a while ago, as I'm now in Croatia and I had to speak on a very big stage, as I'm a global keynote speaker as well. And I think the last update price was hanging around over here somewhere, and we were looking for a swing failure pattern setup, right, where this high was priority, and a swing failure pattern setup is taking the liquidity, and if the candle then closes below, that is the entry. Stop loss is then above the high that is made, and you're then looking for price to move towards the downside. And this setup over here, which I showed then in some previous videos, was very nicely executed for then this move towards the downside. So that was actually very, very nice. And now we have to wait and see, of course, what price is going to do over here, because the more bearish scenario is that this is an impulsive structure towards the downside, where this is then a wave 1 followed by a wave 2, and now expecting a bigger wave 3 towards the downside. One could argue that this is a scenario that is currently preferred, as usually if we look at an ABC scenario, wave C tends to be a little bit more sideways and a little bit longer in time compared to a wave A. Now, as you can see, this wave A was quite long in time and this wave C is very short in time. Also, this then potential wave C has a high amount of volume, the highest in this move towards the downside, which is typical wave 3 characteristics, right? So if we go to the more bearish scenario, you do want to see continuation to the downside, where usually a wave 3 will hit at least the 1.618 target, which is at 24.6k. But now as it stands, price is moving towards the upside, and it is possible for wave C's to have a high amount of volume as well. And what I think is very interesting, is what I have based on experience, is that usually a wave 3 can have quite a clear structure, like quite a clear count inside a wave 3, but a wave C tends to be sometimes very vertical without a clear structure to count. And if we look at this structure over here, if this is a wave 3 to the downside, then how do you count this wave 3? Is this then a wave 1, 2, this a 3, 4, expecting a 5 to the downside? That is possible, of course. Usually a wave 2 retraces to at least a 0.382, which is a rare target for a wave 2, as the 0.5 to 0.786 are common targets, and that didn't happen over here. So that makes it quite interesting, where I'm like in between, like, yeah, well, the volume and how steep it is potentially signaling a wave 3 scenario. However, the fact that there's not necessarily a clear structure in this wave 3 can also hint on a wave C scenario. So we have to wait and see. Now, the invalidation for this scenario is price taking that high at 27.4k. Of course, if price is going to push towards the upside, then this scenario is invalidated. And honestly, if price now is going to push towards these lows over here, like basically this bit of consolidation, then I think this scenario is already kind of invalidated. However, one still has to keep in mind this might be a potential 1, 2, or then a bigger 3, but that doesn't really match any of my medium time frame and high time frame preferred scenarios. So yeah, I prefer to eventually actually look at this medium time frame scenario, which I think is very, very interesting. And in this scenario, I quickly want to open the target boxes as well, because you see the yellow target box that I have below over here. So if this is some sort of a 5-wave structure to the downside, and let me quickly put the 1.618 over here, you can see the 1.618 for a potential wave 3 is inside the yellow target box. So if price is going to move towards the downside right now and hit the yellow target box, then yeah, it could be a potential like impulsive structure, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then eventually a 5 to the downside. But as it stands now, of course, price is not yet at the yellow target box. It is ranging, and this is a scenario that I have been talking about for a while already, where I think this is very interesting. So this drawing has been on my chart for many, many days now, where we were looking for price to create a zigzag structure and then a wave A, which is a 3-wave structure to hit the 0.618, take the liquidity below the double low over here, and then of course, depending on what price does on the lower time frames, because hey, this is a scenario, it's no financial advice. You need your own plan, your own strategy, your own entry requirements to enter a potential trade. But in this particular scenario, based on Elliott Waves, because of course we have the bearish one, we would like in this scenario to see a move to the upside. So we have a 3-wave structure to the downside and then a wave A. Then we're looking for a 3-wave structure to the upside in potentially a wave B, for then an impulsive structure to the downside in a wave C. And that can be a very interesting scenario where many people could be baited, where potentially over here taking the lows can be bearish with people shorting. Over here people might be longing because they expect for further upside, and then eventually price goes down, after which it then goes up. So you're baiting both sides of the markets. You make it very difficult for people to know where price is going, and therefore eventually they might miss out with the eventual move towards the upside. Now in this scenario, the 0.618 is a valid target for a wave Y. It is a common target for a wave Y, which is taken from the high to the low of W to the high of wave X. So one could say, hey, is this going to be the low of wave Y? You can say target-wise, yes, but time-wise, I do not prefer this low over here to be the low of a wave Y. The vertical lines that you see on the chart are Fib time lines, and that is basically comparing wave W in time with wave Y in time. And the one-to-one over here, which is currently positioned on Monday, the 26th of June, is the exact length of wave W compared to wave Y. So currently this low has been made before the 0.382 Fib time, taken then from the high to the low of W. So it's like this low is shorter than 38% of the time it took to develop this wave W over here. So preferably this move is not yet finished, and this structure over here is only the beginning. And then in this scenario, potentially an ABC, or this is an impulsive structure to the downside, where we then go a little bit further to the downside, where if that happens, I would prefer price to hit the yellow target box, for then this to be a 5-wave A to the downside, then expecting a 3-wave B, for then a wave C to the downside for the blue target box that we have below. Now the yellow target box is between 24.3K and 24.8K, and the blue target box is between 21.8K and 22.6K for interesting areas that I can recommend you to put on your chart as well. So in this scenario, I then prefer wave Y to take a little bit longer, grab the liquidity and the resistance that we have with the blue target box over here between 28.9K and 29.2K to get rid of that resistance over here, for then, move towards the downside. The bullish scenario, as this is the bearish scenario, of course, the bullish scenario is price just continuing, not finding resistance in this area. And I suppose the more bearish scenario is if price locally over here is going to find some more downside. So then we are looking at a potential zigzag in a Y, so then we have a bigger A, B, and then a C, and we will not see an expanded flat, because this is a 335 expanding flat scenario in the Y. And if we do tumble over towards the downside, towards that yellow target box in the low time frame bearish scenario, where this is then a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then the wave A will move, then the wave A will move over here to the low of wave 5, then expecting a 3-wave structure to the upside, before then another 5-wave move towards the downside. So this is what I wanted to share. I do quickly, before you go, by the way, want to tell you that you may have gotten a notification on YouTube, because I uploaded a video, I think yesterday, but I wasn't happy because I'm like at an event, I'm in Croatia. Here you have some pictures as well of me being on stage earlier today, and the room was full of people, about like 400 or 500 people here in this room. And I did it in the middle of the day yesterday. I didn't have much time to prepare, and basically I took the update offline. So just in case that at least I've spoken about it, and I took it offline for a simple reason that I noticed that doing an update quickly in between my busy schedule here in Croatia made me forget half of what I should have seen or said in that video, and I'm simply not happy with the update that I gave yesterday. And it is just not the quality or the content that I want to provide to you. If I provide you with content, I want it to be good, and I want to be happy with it as well. So for updates, I need time to prepare, which is difficult at the moment. After my speech today, I do have a bit of more flexibility, let's say. And also I learned my lesson here, and I will provide the next update, which is this one, only if I have time to prepare solidly before recording, so I can make sure it's in line with what I expect of myself and the quality that I pursue. So yeah, this is the event of today. Great event in Croatia. I will fly back to the Netherlands tomorrow, and then tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central East European time, you will have an update like you're used to from me. So that being said, I hope this video was great and valuable to you. Thank you for watching and subscribing, and I will see you at the next one. Bye bye.